Hello and welcome to the My Hero Academia podcast, episode 117. My name is Sophie, and today with me we have James.
Hello.
And we have three special guests with us. We're very lucky this week. First of all, we have Benjamin Banks.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having me back.
No problem. Thank you very much for joining us. We also have Marion.
Hello. Glad to be back.
And Nick.
Hi, huge pleasure to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Woo. We don't really have very much news this week. James, you said there were a few figures out.
It's from Itaikuji. The Takara Tomy is releasing a new type of figurine series called the Pocket Maquette Design, featuring cute pocket-sized versions of Deku, Bakugo, Ochiko, Todoroki, and All Might. And apparently it's for pre-order right now, and it comes out in November. And they're just these cute little chibi characters of them.
Does it say how much they'll be for chibi figures?
Sure, I can check that real quick.
Do any of you guys collect figurines?
I used to. It's a really expensive hobby.
Yeah, it is. I don't collect the figurines, but I do collect the pops. And I just got the 10-inch All Might pop. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, like as soon as I saw it on pre-order, like I ordered it immediately. It's my first All Might pop as well. And I also got an Endeavor pop as well. It was a new one that came out. And I wanted to get the Mina metallic pop, but that one was sold out immediately. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay, I was able to find out the price. They sell them in blind packs, so, you just don't want to know which one you'll get for 700 yen, which is about 637 USD. And you can order...
Blind packs are risky, but I don't know if there's any characters that I would get as a figurine that I wouldn't like. I was going to say except for maybe Monoma, but maybe I'd like Monoma more.
Oh, you can order the whole set for $24. That's what it was for the other one.
That's not a
Why would
bad
just
price.
buy the whole set? It's way cheaper.
True enough.
Probably
Cool.
get you on the shipping. But yeah, those will be available in November.
Mm.
You can pre-order them now.
Okay, so we also this week some OVAs came out, but they were I haven't watched them, but it was only on Crunchyroll, I believe.
They were on Hulu as well. That's where I watched it at.
Oh, really? So not on Funimation at all?
I didn't check.
I don't have the Funimation app, but I do believe that it is up there because Funimation were the ones who originally announced that the OVA was coming out. So I would assume that it's on their app.
They had a watch party.
Yeah.
Earlier
All
that
of the subs from Hulu come from Funimation's uploads.
Oh, okay, cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yes, the Funimation Hulu pipeline.
That's literally what it is, though.
Yeah. There's also the author comment for this week, which is a very sad. Horikoshi's author comment is, "My third funeral of the year so far. So sad."
Oh,
Oh,
sorry
wow.
for your
That's
loss.
Yeah, that's really sad.
My condolences,
Yeah, 2020 sucks for everyone.
for real.
So we go back to the OVA. Everyone on the podcast except for Marion and I have watched it. And before we started recording, there was some very negative chat about the episode. Does anyone have any positives that they would like to talk about?
Well, it's just my opinions. I just didn't really like it too much. It was okay. It's just they picked favorites to feature.
What was the premise? What's the storyline? Without spoilers, if you can.
The premise is, I
oh,
think
okay.
it takes place before the provisional license exam.
Yep.
And they're doing a rescue test, basically, on the school grounds, and I think it was ground beta. And basically it's a 6-story underground mall with one civilian trapped inside that couldn't evacuate. And their goal is to find said civilian and rescue them.
That sounds good, but which characters did they focus on?
Well, they split it into 2 groups of 10, and the second group of 10 just never even comes into play. So
Really?
you only
Yeah.
get half of 1A.
Yeah,
And it was
you
a
get
two-parter.
yeah, you get the characters who they really care about. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not I like the characters, the other students from class 1A. I really don't like Coda. Like it's his face. Like I don't like his quirk. Like I have a hatred for Coda. Now I will say that in the My Hero Academia Heroes Rising movie, Coda finally did something useful, and I was happy about that because I usually don't have anything positive to say about him. But yeah, that's the only good thing that I will say about him is that he did something in that movie. But yeah, you saw the students who, the main players, Bakugo, Deku, Todoroki, and their cliques. Pretty much, it was the whole cliques. That's what it was.
Does
No
Momo,
Mineta, no
does
Mineta.
does Momo create a canon?
Momo does
Well,
not
that-
create a
No.
canon. I thought there was a point where she might, and she didn't.
Yeah, it's honestly, I feel like this could have been a regular episode in season 3. Honestly, I was hyped for it. I hyped it up on my podcast, Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And when I watched it, I was so disappointed. And we have not talked about it on my podcast yet. But when we do talk about it, I am going to trash it.
What's even worse is because y'all were talking about it beforehand, I went in with low expectations and I was still disappointed.
Holy shit.
It was
Yeah.
like it wasn't good. It was just I basically watched it all, and then at the end, basically felt I could have never watched this and been perfectly
Exactly.
fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the impression I got from like the synopsis. But is there something specific about it that besides just the fact that it's like underwhelming that like you didn't like about it?
Um, I just felt like it wasn't needed, to be
Mm.
honest with you. Like again, like I said, if it was just a regular episode where, because the series doesn't really have any filler, so if it was a filler episode, I would have been like, oh, okay, like that was a nice, filler episode to slow down the main thing that's going on right now. But yeah, I mean, it just felt like a waste of time. That's
Oh,
It did.
that sucks. Was there?
It-
Do you think there's something you would have done? You maybe tried to done differently?
can I spoil it?
Yeah, I don't mind.
If there was an actual villain or a threat, I think it would have been better. Or if yeah, I mean, like if there was just something like a obstacle that they had to go through. Like I
Like-
felt like the obstacle that they did have to go through, like it was very lackluster and something that was very small.
There was like no stakes.
Yeah, there were no stakes. I mean,
It
people
really
got
didn't feel
injured.
Yeah.
I see.
That's a fair sounding criticism.
It's like, okay, like I want to say season 2, when the students were, taking the classes where it's like they had to team up and they had to face the teachers. Like that was cool because it's like they had something that they had to do. Whereas with this, it was just like, eh. Or okay, here's one, like the one filler episode in season 3 where they had to solve who the criminal was. Yeah, it was like a filler episode, and it set up for the My Hero Academia 2 Heroes movie. Like if it was something like that, like it would have been cool.
Mhm.
It's
That
like,
one
what's the
that
point?
was a fun episode. That was the one with the there was no love, right?
Yeah, it's
That was
like
my favorite. That's just so dope.
That was one of the best lines in the show, is Bakugo just screaming, "There was no love."
it's like I feel like it was 2 episodes. I would have been fine with them doing team 1 in one episode and then team 2 in the other episode. And for real, it's like the characters that we didn't see, they could have just did that in the first episode. Like they could have got done with the mission quick, and then at the end of the first episode and then the entire second episode, it could have just been the main cast. You know what I'm saying? It was just very lackluster. I was not a fan of it. I hated it. And I can't remember who said it in the group chat, but Deku was annoying, which is something that I didn't like. And like he really talked way too much, like how I'm doing right now. But yeah,
Yeah, you're not talking too much, but I will agree. Yeah, Deku, like he spent most of the episode analyzing and just thinking and analyzing, and we know he does that, but God,
Yeah.
it was just non-stop. He really didn't do anything until the end, and it was
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
okay, thanks for being here. And even then, it just a lot of the students' choices throughout the entire thing were just poor. It just, if any, it's just really weird. It felt like Bakugo was the only one who was actually focused, and the rest of them were so wishy-washy. Like,
Yep.
oh no, accident happened. We need to leave. It's like, how are y'all not thinking this is part of the test at this point? Like,
Yeah.
or even if it wasn't part of the test, like, if we can't overcome this, maybe we have a problem as students. Like, they
Yeah.
just kind of all started like wanting to give up on the mission way too easily.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh no, this is bad. Let's wait. I think even Todoroki at one point was like, we could just wait for the teachers to come get us. And it's like, dude,
Common
what?
disappointed me. Like I was just like, Kaminari is not usually like this. Like, why is he giving up so easily? Like, it's like he really was not acting like a hero in this entire movie. Like, I'm just like, I mean, sorry, not movie, but OVA. Like, it was dumb. It was really dumb, for real.
That's so
So
weird.
dumb.
Yeah, because wasn't the whole point of the hero course to be like really proactive and like everyone's like a go-getter in their own way?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and like everyone wanted to just give up except Bakugo and Deku maybe. Like that was it. Everybody else was like, all right, time to evacuate.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was very frustrating for me, for certain.
That's such disappointing writing because all of the filler episodes in My Hero have been so good. Like Gary always mentions the two filler episodes where there's that like mastermind girl that drinks loads of tea.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good.
And I even enjoyed, I think it was the intro to season 4 with the guy who just spawns cameras all over his body.
Yeah.
I
That was
thought
a
that
good
was
one.
good. Yeah, that was a great filler. I just don't know what the point of this OVA was. I don't have a clue.
I think it was just to give us something until season 5, honestly. But it was lackluster.
I'd rather they didn't.
Yeah, and like Benjamin said, I kind of thought that they were going to show the other students like in the second half because it was a two-parter OVA.
Right.
And that was probably the only disappointing thing. I thought that maybe the second set of students would go in and help them out or something, but no, not much. But you have heard us rag on it, but go ahead and watch it on Crunchyroll, Hulu, or Funimation.
Now that we've put it in a light, watch it.
You can form your own opinions after that.
Students weren't included out of interest.
The 10 students are Deku, Bakugo, Ida, Ochiko, Kaminari, Todoroki, Tokoyami, Asui. I'm missing 2.
Did you say Sue?
Kirishima.
Kirishima. I think I said Asui. I'm missing.
Aoyama?
And
was
Yo-Yo,
not in
Yomo,
it.
Momo.
Aoyama's not included.
No.
No.
And half of the students were basically trapped.
Yeah, more than half of the students were trapped. Ida's knocked out of commission immediately, and Momo has to babysit him.
I did like Momo though in that episode when she pops out, like whenever they rescue her, she pops out of that hole. It's like a kind of like The Shining. Like, here's Momo.
Yep.
that puts that in a more fun light. Yes, I agree.
That's the first and only positive.
I'll say the intro and the outro was a positive thing to see because I never skipped those, and even though the OVA was bad, I never skipped the intro or the outro. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say the OP and ending are like my favorite so far. Which like season 3 was my favorite ending, but I like season 4's ending better. The music's so good.
Yeah. I just made Polaris my my ringtone, my phone. Like I love that song so much, and it's on my gym playlist, and yeah, like my gym playlist is filled with music from My Hero Academia.
Yeah, I think that was my gym playlist. It was all a bunch of just anime openings and stuff.
Sounds like
gets
great
makes you
playlists and
pumped.
ringtones.
It does. It does.
I think we've said what we could all say about the OVA that we love so much. Are we ready to move on to the chapter?
I'm good to go.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
This is my hero academia.
Okay, so this is chapter 281 entitled Plus Ultra. Take it away, Nick.
Yes. So we open with a quick flashback to Shigaraki's father saying, "You heroes hurt your own families just to help complete strangers." And then we jump back immediately to Shigaraki's body, which appears to be cracking. And then Rocklock is with Aizawa and Manuel and saying, "Let's find cover and keep that water flowing, Manuel." And I guess Aizawa's just is struggling and holding his mouth while keeping his eyes focused as best as he can. Finish him off quick. And then we have Gran Torino in a state of thoughtfulness. What's going on now? As Shigaraki begins to stand up. "You heroes pretend to be society's guardians." And we have Deku, Bakugo, and Endeavor looking on. "For generations, you pretended not to see those you couldn't protect and swept their pain under the rug. It's tainted everything you've built." And we flash back again when little Shigaraki just killed his family and is walking through the streets and nobody will help him. And the old lady, I'm sure the police or a hero or somebody can help you." Shigaraki continues, "That means your system's all rotten from the inside, with maggots crawling out," which is disgusting allegory, but okay. "It all builds up, little by little, over time. You've got the common trash, all too dependent on being protected, and the brave guardians who created the trash that need coddling. It's a corrupt, vicious cycle. Everything I've witnessed, this whole system you've built has always rejected me. Now I'm ready to reject it. That's why I destroy. That's why I took this power for myself." And Deku is looking kind of terrified. "Simple enough, yeah."
You have a really good Shigaraki voice.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think I can do as well.
I don't think I could do it that well either.
No. And so he carries on. "I don't care if you don't understand. That's what makes us heroes and villains." And this picture of him is great. I want to take a moment to shout out how good his thighs look. They're
He did
very
not skip leg day.
No.
Yes.
He's definitely been squatting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that rip on the skin between the wrist and the start of the forearm. Oh, horrible. It looks like underneath. They don't necessarily look like tendons. That looks like wires. And then his
That's
hand.
interesting.
Yeah, and then his hand on the other side where it's like we know he's missing the few fingers and a thumb. When
Yeah.
I first read this, I was like, is that a USB port? And now part of me thinks he's mechanical.
It looks like it's a symbiote about to take over his body.
Yeah. And that cape at the back, if anyone's read the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, they'll understand that reference.
I was gonna say that cape has lasted through this entire arc.
Real,
Exil's
yeah.
died, so we might have this cape.
It's in tatters.
Look at his face where he's got that white hair and then you can't even see his eyes and it's just the little bits of his nose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great page. But we carry on to the next page and we see Endeavour just engulfed by flames. He's saying, "Thanks for the breather, and since you're on death's door and all, prepare to." And then Nightmare Shigaraki is just on top of him. Endeavour saying, "How is he still moving?" And we go to Gran Torino. Todoroki's packing their spine now. Could it be blowback from these fancy attacks? And he's grabbed Shigaraki from the back and he's got him by one arm and then bound by the back of the head. And in case anyone else was like me, Todoroki is Endeavour, not Shoto. Same surname.
Hey, I thought the same thing when he said Todoroki.
Yeah.
You're not
First half a second, Todoroki's not here.
but he could be.
He might be.
And then we go on to the next page, and even though Shigaraki has been grabbed, he must have used his free arm, and he just whirls back, no pupils in his eyes, and throws Gran Torino off. He's thinking this one's seen better days. He's pushing past his limit to keep fighting, and as Gran Torino is thrown back, Shigaraki grabs his foot with a crunch.
And then immediately after, we see Endeavor, Bakugo, and Deku, and Aizawa just looking on, just witnessing what's happening, as Shigaraki immediately like uses the momentum to like slam Gran Torino into the ground, and we see him thinking, "What a face, Shimura." And we get like a flashback, where we see Shimura like departing with her son, and a younger Gran Torino where he looks like Robin or like Nightwing, like with that face mask.
Yeah.
I always thought that design was really cool. And yeah, they're like they're looking at the cityscape on top of a roof, and Shimura's admitting like, "Oh, I tinkered with the family records to keep him off the trail," assuming that means All for One.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he were to ever learn of Kotaro, he'd be sure to exploit our connection. And so I have no son. I never did. Sorahiko, I have no son. And then we see Gran Torino thinking, no, sorry, that was that's what Kotaro says. You heroes hurt your own families just to help complete strangers. Dad told me that. Yeah, and then we see Gran Torino. He's just like, it looks like he's about to die. We really don't know for sure, but he's saying, Shimura, the decision we made was it. And am I supposed to think that like Gran Torino is like the father of the son?
I thought that as well. I was like, oh, you dirty man. She's supposed to be your student.
I don't think he's father. I think
an interesting
he's
thought.
I think he's just a friend that is, standing by her side in her decision, because I wouldn't think that anybody would want to have to give up their child or children,
No.
but
Yeah.
she's doing it for the right reason.
Whoa.
I was gonna say that's one thing about My Hero Academia that always kind of gets to me, is that like the public knows who all the heroes are. Like there really are no secret identities. So that's the reason why Batman said in The Dark Knight Rises, you must wear a mask, because it's not to protect you, it's to protect the people that you care about.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I was gonna say those few panels were very Batman-esque.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and even the art in this next one feels very Batman-esque too.
Yeah, on the next page, it's just Torino like holding Shimura, as she's just like letting it all out. And immediately after,
Sorry.
They're feeling it. The emotion.
immediately after, we just see Shimura like pushing Torino even further into the ground, as like the dust is like rising, and you see all this debris and blood coming out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then we get to this awesome image of Midoriya, which it's like whenever I see Midoriya's face like that, like I always get hyped. It's just always something about him screaming or saying smash or something that just always makes me light up like a kid on Christmas Day. And you get Midoriya saying, ah! And he's rushing to save Gran Torino, and Shigaraki's on top of Gran Torino. Shigaraki, he looks up, because, of course, if you hear somebody screaming like that, you're going to look up. And Shigaraki says, power. And then Endeavor tells Deku to stay back. But, Deku, being the hero that he is, of course he's going to leap forward. That's what heroes do. All Might said that a hero always, their legs are the first thing that always goes. You know what I'm saying? And so then we see Bakugo, Shigaraki, Deku, he just did his smash. And it looks like in the image, It looks like hold on, is that him using the smash or is that him catching Gran Torino? It looks like he's using the smash.
I
It
think
looks like
he's
Black
using
Whip
the
to
Black Whip.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is Black Whip. All right, so he didn't do a smash. So when he doesn't smash, he just screams. Okay. Um, then you have Bakugo saying he's somehow even faster now because that's how I think Bakugo is. He always screams when he talks.
He does.
And then it's like we still see our comrades. We see Izawa. Um, I forgot his name. I forgot the other character.
Manual.
Manuel and
Oh, Rocklock.
Rocklock. There we go. I always call him Locksmith. Thank you.
That's a good name too.
And then we see them, and it's like Izawa is still trying to keep his eyes on Shigaraki. And then we see Ryukyu. She's coming in, she's swooping down, and she's protecting Izawa and his crew. And then Izawa, he screams, Ryukyu! And then she's like, ugh! And she gets pierced by Shigaraki. Like he goes right through her hand. Like so now she has a hole in her hand now. Well, not her hand, but her dragon claw. And now he's saying, I'm running out of steam. Shigaraki, I'm running out of steam.
That sounds painful, honestly. Like a hand just going through your other hand. Just a hole through your hand. But we see that Deku has a hold of Shigaraki, and Deku's screaming, Shigaraki! I will never forgive you. Says, and I won't forgive anyone. But
You always got to come back.
I know he has to have the last word. But we see that he's still holding on while Shigaraki still has his arm in Ryuki's hand. And I don't know why I see like black stuff coming out of Deku. Did he get? Oh, he got elbowed.
He got elbowed in the stomach.
Yeah, he got elbowed in the stomach. And we see it says, turn that rage into strength. And he says, bind him, Black Whip. As we see the Black Whip start going around Shigaraki and him. Says, hold him right there, Deku. See All Might approaching in. Says, one more good hit with all I've got. One more should be enough. And I love this panel. It looks so good. And we see Shigaraki is grabbing something from his left boot or his pocket. It says, give it all I've got. And we see a close-up of Ryuki's hand. It looks like his hand penetrated through Ryuki's claws. And
it did, huh?
Yeah, I could not figure out what that was for a second, but yeah, that's what's happening. And we see that what's in his hand is those the quirk erasing bullets, and he says, those fools still don't know that I've got this. As we see, I don't know who we're seeing through that perspective. But
This
we
is
see
Zawa.
Rocklock and Manuel.
It's,
Is it?
Yeah, it's the three. It's three with a including Aizawa.
Yeah, but are we looking through the hole in the hand?
I think we
That's
are.
what I want to know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. But yeah, he's got the quirk erasing bullets, and then the last panel is just airy.
Eri.
It's really dark. And that's the end of the chapter.
I love Eri.
I know, she's so adorable.
I love Eri, but my big question is, right before all this started, her horn was huge. So
Yeah, I think that's a flashback
what is
to
this?
the Christmas.
Yes,
Like
it's
last
it was
year?
Christmas time. Yep.
I guess the $1,000,000 question here is why?
It's
I think
because
it's a parallel.
it's
or
because of the
something.
quirk eraser, and because of what Overhaul had did to make the bullets. So like I believe that's the showing her.
Good thought. Yeah, that's
Basically,
probably it. It's just so it's so randomly placed at the end of this chapter.
It is.
I think it's just very dark, like imagery when you think about it.
It's the fact that well, I think obviously like the aim is gonna be to like erase Aizawa's quirk, and he's the one who's been taking care of Eri. He's
Exactly.
also like he's thematically also the one who has like the same kind of quirk where he like cancels other people. So it's like it's like irony, dramatic irony.
Okay.
Especially considering like yeah, like Aizawa's like the caretaker, and you see like this during this like flashback scene, like back to Christmas or whatever. That was back when he already got custody of her. So
Okay.
And that makes perfect sense. And I
Yes, it
agree with
does.
you 100%.
That's what I wanted to point out as well. Like when I read through this, the last time I read it was very quickly on my break today. And when we were looking through and we were seeing those three people, I couldn't work out who they were. I was thinking that the bullets were there because they were related to Eri, but I went on my mind about some thought of this bullet being like if it was made into shrapnel. So if he fired the bullet off into the ground and then it fired off by shrapnel, and everyone that it hit, it erased their quirk, that would be super dangerous.
that'd
But
be crazy.
but I don't think it is. I think that it's aimed at Zawa. But anytime I think something, the opposite always happens.
Yeah, I think he's just like aiming to like flick it with his hand using like all for one strength or whatever, and like the perspective is from like the hole in the bullet, or like you see that the chamber from when he's like lifting it up, because you see like the creases of Shigaraki's fingers around it.
Yeah, I think
okay.
you're right. And I mean, it's obvious he wants to use it on Aizawa because basically, without Aizawa, nobody can stop him. He's too strong.
Exactly.
That's the only person keeping him in check right now.
Exactly.
How will he propel the bullet to Aizawa? What I thought was USBs on his hand. On the entrance, there's little holes. So could
He
that
might-
be like a projectile bit?
If he's got as
Might
much
have-
strength as he's got, I wouldn't be surprised if he could just flick it like with a la Deku with his finger, and it would have enough force to just
Yeah, that's what I was.
into him.
That's what I was thinking.
So y'all think that he'll have some finger bullets like Tagoro?
Basically, because he does
Suppose
have
that's
more like
feasible.
physical strength.
He's got a ton of physical strength, so it would not surprise me if just with his few free fingers he could flick that thing so hard it would go into whoever gets hit.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys. So do y'all think that this is the end for My Hero Academia, like after this, and then they're going to do a time jump, and we're going to have them as young adults, kind of like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z?
I think it's possible. I'm not sure at this point. I can't deny that that's something to think about, just because of the fact that it really depends on just like what's going to be the aftermath here, if Shigaraki is going to be captured or not, or if he's going to get away, because like the whole point of the story is like the struggle with One for All versus All for One, and like their ideals clashing and stuff. So like I don't know where they're going with like this like the aftermath exactly. Like I can't deny that, like I feel like I'm just saying the same thing. I can't deny that it's like it's possible, but like I think what has me like thinking that maybe like I'm leaning towards like I'm like 60-40 saying that like maybe there might be a time skip. It's because like when the series first started or whatever, during like Deku's monologue, he was saying like, oh, and this is the story of how I became like the world's best hero or whatever. So like we're gonna see him as like a pro hero, I'm assuming. It's not just gonna be like just him in high school and stuff, even though it says like academia in the title.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a time skip. And this does feel like quite a good time to take the time skip now, because if Shigaraki's very injured and needs to take time out, he could maybe take some time out and just rule in the shadows for a bit. Like, you know, when we were introduced as at the start of the series, this is the era of heroes, then maybe it would go to the era of villains, and Shigaraki could take some time out and just be like the kingpin behind everyone. And when you think about it from a Horikoshi perspective, he's had some extremely busy few years to go from someone who struggled and had so many, like I think he had 2 or maybe 3 manga series in Shonen Jump, and they were both rejected. And then this took off like wildfire so quickly. And to have the anime just want to be like an outpouring, and then the films just all straight after another, that's quite a lot to have so quickly.
Yeah.
So maybe he would want a time skip so he could take a break. So I
Maybe.
could see it happen.
It's
But-
definitely feasible because the way I feel this is going is, I mean, we all know Shigaraki is insanely powerful, but on the same token, you had somebody like All for One who was in the shadows for years. He was
Yeah.
insanely powerful, but he still hid in the shadows and waited for an opportune time. We also have the fact that, and we've discussed this before, Shigaraki only made it to 75% completion.
Yep.
He's not a perfect specimen. So at this point, and he said it himself, he's running out of steam. So I think this
Yep.
fight is just about over. I think Giganto is going to come and basically, or that group is going to try to rescue him and get him out of there because even if he succeeds in getting Aizawa's quirk erased, he's probably still worn out and about to go down. So I think we're about to end up in a situation like I just described, where he goes in hiding now for how long, I don't know, and maybe even tries to fix everything that's his imperfection and all that. And then we probably have the heroes, that's their time to, okay, we have to regroup because we have a serious problem here.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd necessarily like it though, because I'm overly desperate to find out Shoji's background. And I feel like if there's a time skip, I may never know.
Aw.
But it makes sense. Benjamin, what do you think? You asked the question. Do you think there'll be a time skip? Do you want a time skip?
Yes, I would like for there to be a time skip because, like, right now, I feel like, with everything that's going on, I kind of feel like that they've reached their end for, them being teenagers and then fighting Shigaraki now. And I hope that, when they do the time skip, that they venture to, America or something like that. And like Deku kind of has, follows in the footsteps of All Might, and he's starting somewhere new. And then, of course, like his friends would follow him over to America. Not everybody. Like, Koda, he could stay in Japan. Right. But I think that would be the next move is for them to become adults. And I really feel like the series is going to end with Deku and Bakugo fighting All for One. I feel like he's going to be the ultimate villain because I feel like, if he really wanted to get out of, prison, he could. Like, he's just sitting there waiting in the shadows and he's waiting for the right opportunity. For some odd reason, like, I feel like he's going to absorb Shigaraki or something. Something's going to happen. And he's going to be back at 100%. And then you're going to have Deku, who finally defeats All for One. And especially right now with him finally learning the abilities of the other users of One for All. And I feel like that's going to play a major part in the final battle against All for One.
There are so many rogue threads still. Like, what about Mirio? Will he just, I don't know, saunter about? We were teased that Stain might come back.
That's right. I forgot about Stain. That's right.
I'd like it and I wouldn't like it, but can we take a quick poll? Who thinks that Gran Torino is the grandfather of Shigaraki and who doesn't? Because I really think he is.
I don't think he is.
It sounds like it, like the way the chapter is written, it makes it look like it is, but I don't know. I don't think so.
I'm gonna go with no.
Just because the student dynamic too of that Nana was a student of his just seems really weird.
Yeah. Was he Shimura's teacher? I thought he was only the teacher for Toshinori or All Might. I
believe he was. I think that they were just partners, like like Deku and Bakugo in a way.
Yeah. I didn't think that he actually mentored Shimura. I thought he just mentored All Might.
He taught All Might during his first year at UA, but Nana gave All Might the quirk, and I thought that Gran Torino also taught Nana, but maybe I'm reading into it because she did say that the rest of her family were killed, and her husband was also a pro hero. who was killed, and maybe I'm just
maybe.
looking into I'm just looking for romantic drama where there is none.
You're looking for ships. You think that Nana and Gran Torino, they could have been a couple or something like that.
Yeah, I am a bit of a ship hunter. I'm the My Hero Navy.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm like that sometimes too. Like, for the longest time, I thought that Momo and Todoroki would make a good couple, but then as the series has gone on, it's like I'm like, nah, I want Momo and Ida to become a couple.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have so many thoughts, but for another time.
Yeah, I don't know. If that was the case that like Torino like mentored her like Shimura, then I wouldn't like it. But if they were just like partners, I would be okay with it. If just for like the like knowing the fact that if he falls here, Torino, that it was like his grandson that did it after like the decision that they made as partners for Shimura and Torino to like completely cut off their family, that it just comes back to haunt them in that way. I think that would make for interesting writing. But it's not necessary. I just think that would be interesting to put together.
In terms of interesting writing, if Gran Torino does pass because of this fight, I think that might be interesting writing, and I'd like it because there's always the mentor will die trope, and I've been especially in Shonen, and I've been waiting for All Might to die because of that. But if it's,
Please don't say that. Please don't say that.
I don't want
Yeah,
to
you sound like my
Sophie's
wife. My wife screams at me every time I bring that up.
I legit thought that like he was gonna be like the first death of the series, because like it just like the way that from like chapter 1 with like his injury, and it's all like foreshadowed, like he doesn't have long, he has to find a successor and all this, and like the fact that the more Deku acclimates to One for All, that the weaker All Might gets and stuff. I'm just like, it's a matter of time. I don't understand. And then like Night Eye bit the bullet first, and I'm like, damn, that sucks. That's so tragic to like know you're gonna die, but like there are still other people that are close to you that like pass before you. Like it must really be painful to be All Might.
Yeah.
If that the trope is slightly inverted and All Might lives to see Deku become a pro hero, I think that would be so beautiful, and I would definitely cry. But I don't like the idea. I don't want anyone to die. But I know that someone kind of has to die, otherwise it'll be like One Piece, and everyone will be like, oh, they're not really dead. But if Gran Torino does die, I think that will be I don't know. It will be quite a good turn on the mentor trope, because he was a mentor to him, but in a very different way. He wasn't like a god figure or a dad figure. He was just a quirky old man who taught him some cool stuff with a microwave.
Yeah.
Who are you again?
I really think that one for all. I'm sorry, I always do this. I really think All for One is going to kill All Might. I really think that's what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And when that does happen, that is going to be a very sad day. I am going to cry my ass off. It's crazy because I read the manga. I always tell people who don't read it that All Might dies just to see what it's going to be.
That reminds me when season 3 came out and everyone was like trolling, saying that Bakugo dies in season 3.
Like that doesn't even make any sense. Like that's just like people who say that Kaminari is the traitor of UA. But yeah, like I just tell people all the time that All Might dies just to see the reactions, and then I tell them like, no, he's still alive. I just wanted to see what you were gonna do.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
You're a monster.
Chaotic evil.
It's funny. Like I just want to see. Like y'all should read the manga. Like I don't understand why y'all aren't reading it.
So I'll go around and ask everyone if you've had anything that you've missed from the chapter that we've not talked about. Mention it if there's anything you've really liked, if there's anything you disliked. So, James, would you like to start?
All I really have to say is I just really like the art in this chapter. It was really good.
It was very good.
I think there was one more thing, but no, just that. I'll just go with that. It was a good chapter.
And Marion?
I feel very blessed every time I'm invited because I always get really good ass chapters. This one is like probably my favorite so far in like for the past couple months, just because like I was waiting for more Shigaraki stuff, and being able to like connect the threads of like, oh yeah, his past with his father and his family and the fact that he killed them, to like now he has like full blown ideals of like why society is messed up or whatever. Like he has finally become the figurehead that Stain would be willing to follow, and like the kind of person that like he used Stain or like his image to like advance the League of Villains or whatever, and like now he's actually like embodying all of that. That's what I really liked about like seeing his development, Shigaraki's development so far. There are things that like some of the statements that he makes are like obviously like most villains say stuff that's like coded in truth or like half truths, and like it's interesting just seeing like how some of the statements he makes can like apply to real life or whatever. But at the end of the day, I find it really like, I don't know. I was gonna say like noble, the fact that like he's just so angry at how society just kind of like cast him to the side, and the fact that he can like take that out on the person who was, well, he didn't really start it, but he's connected to his grandmother, who like really is the reason that like his whole family just got so like twisted, I guess. There's a lot of really like juicy like thematic writing here that's what I love to read, and just being able to like hook that up with Horikoshi's like super solid artwork, and like the fact that he breaks up panels in really interesting ways, like on page 7 where Gran Torino comes in, and you just know from like his quirk that he's just so fast, and like it like warps the panel where he comes in at an angle, and like it makes the panels on the side and above it just like whoop, like make room for it, because like that's the space that Gran Torino came through, and like just stuff like that is just really cool. I love seeing really unique paneling, and this arc has had a lot of it.
It's like he's moved from being angry and wanting to destroy everything and not knowing why, and then he got his memories back, and now he's taking his anger out on the heroes, but really he's angry at the civilians. Like every time I see that stupid old lady who ignored a child in poverty, I get so angry. And I've never hated elderly people, but I hate this fictional elderly lady. But
I know.
yeah, like his anger's directed at civilians, but he's taking out on heroes because he thinks that they made the civilians be what they are, and it's just an extra storyline behind his anger, and I think that's really clever how it's been interworked.
Yeah,
right, like the civilians have gotten lazy because of the heroes. Like we don't have to do anything; the heroes will take care of it, and the heroes didn't take care of it.
Yeah.
It's like you see the justification, or his justification for like being so angry, and like we got a hint of that with like his first backstory, but like now it's like we're seeing the ramifications of it like afterwards. Like we didn't really see what happened after, besides just him getting picked up by All For One, but like even before that, like he's just like wandering around in the streets like a homeless kid, and like no one is willing to spare not even like a look. They just look at him, get like they make these like worried faces, and they turn around and keep walking.
But isn't that kind of how our society is?
Exactly.
You know? It's like, sometimes it's like you'll see a kid just wandering around and like nobody will do anything. Like they're just like, oh, don't help them or don't talk to them,
Where do you guys live? That's horrible.
This
I
is
live in New
America.
York City.
This is
I see that a
America.
lot. Yeah.
Uh,
This is
Oh.
that's a yeah.
New Orleans, Louisiana.
That's
I
very
live in
sad.
Virginia.
I was like West Texas. I'm out in
Oh.
the desert.
Really, I live in Baton Rouge, but I was raised in New Orleans, so I get what y'all are talking about.
Yeah, see, I get told I interfere too much. I was walking on the high street and there was a guy who was really struggling with his wheelchair. And I went to help him. Then I found the people that he was with and he'd just sort of scooted off. My sister was like, "You should have left him to his own. He'd be fine." And I was like, "He wasn't,
That's
though."
I feel like
Yes.
it's always a good thing to help people when they're in need because you just never know. Like one thing that I've always done ever since I was a teenager, like in my early teens, is like if I ever saw like somebody was stuck in the road, like I would always help them get their car out of the road. And that's something that I continue to do to this day because you just never know, man. Like sometimes people they think that nobody cares about them and nobody wants to help them. And sometimes, they just need a helping hand. It's
Yeah.
like it's like sometimes people can only care about themselves, but it's like if they were in that same situation, they would want somebody to help them. So it's like I always try to help out in any way that I can because that's what heroes do.
That's the moral of this podcast episode. If you see someone in help and you're not sure, always ask.
Mm.
Benjamin, did you want to go next? What did you think about this podcast, this chapter?
I really enjoy the podcast. I appreciate you, having me back on because I love My Hero Academia. So I will say that. I really enjoyed the chapter. I felt like the last chapter was a little bit short, but this one it quenched my appetite, as to say. One thing that I liked, it was on page 11 where Sugar Rocky says, "You heroes hurt your own families just to help complete strangers." It made me think about Coda because his parents, they helped the stranger and they ended up getting killed by Muscular. And with that happening, it made Coda resent heroes because, like Shigaraki said, you heroes hurt your own families just to help complete strangers. You know.
Mm.
So, but then Coda does see that it's like heroes are necessary because if you didn't have heroes, then the villains would kill people. But it really made me think about that.
Yeah, that's good. Especially because like I also was thinking about the fact that like in a way like yeah, like Shigaraki, we see like his society rejected him and that's why he rejects society. But like even on the flip side, Deku was also rejected because he was quirkless. But like he still found it within him to like still like admire heroes and want to be like them. And like that's the other side of the coin. Like you can be like thrown like misfortune and like hate and stuff, but if you find it within yourselves to have like the resolve to really just like try to find like the light or like something positive about it, that can help you just like not like fall into despair like Shigaraki did. Because
You know
then
what?
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that that's what led to him meeting All Might. But what were you gonna say?
No, I was going to say that I 100% agree with you because when you think about it, look at I'm mad I forgot his name. Gentle Criminal.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he was somebody who he didn't have that light. He didn't have somebody that kind of guided him
Mhm.
to eventually do good. You know what I'm saying? But Coda, on the other hand, who had a bunch of hate in his heart, he had Midoriya come along, and Midoriya opened his eyes. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing about Shigaraki. Shigaraki, he did have somebody come into his life, but it was a very negative person who just filled him with rage and hate toward heroes. And I agree when you say that it's like, you have to have that light because if you don't have that light, then eventually you just succumb to darkness and then you become a bad guy. Because I'm sure that Coda, he did have, I mean, not saying that because Coda, he could have just been a normal civilian but he would have had a hatred for heroes, you know. But
Yeah.
Shigaraki and Gentle Criminal, on the other hand, Shigaraki, he did have somebody come in his life, but Gentle Criminal, like, he was hated by everybody. He just wanted to be a hero, and he's one of my favorite bad guys. There's a difference between a bad guy and a villain, because
Mhm.
Gentle Criminal, he was something that was created, just like Shigaraki, but with Gentle, he just wanted to be a hero, and him and Deku, they share so many similarities as well, because it's like they both wanted to be heroes, and Gentle is what happens when you do have a quirk, but you don't have somebody to guide you, and that's what you end up becoming.
Yeah. He didn't have like a role model, or he didn't have anyone who really like supported his dream, and like that's what really like made him like fall flat on his face. Because then even when like part of the reason that like Deku is like the way he is definitely because of his mom, and the fact that like even though she couldn't tell him that like, oh, you can be a hero too, or because she was like too like distraught over the fact that like he has no quirk or whatever, like she still like tried to provide him with the right kind of environment to grow up like properly. But like you saw like Gentle Criminal, like he just like no one was on his side. Like
Yeah.
as soon as like he started getting like bad grades or whatever, and then like his bad luck with like getting into accidents, and or like his friends becoming heroes and stuff, it's just like it sucks. Like so many misfortunes like stack up, and at some point if you don't have some kind of like support system, you're gonna fail, and you're gonna fall hard, and you're not gonna be willing to like accept it.
Yeah, you'll never be able to reach your goals. And like you said, like Gentle Criminal, like his parents, they hated him. His friends, everybody in school hated him. And then when he did try to use his powers for good, he caused a scene and caused an accident, and then he had even more people hate him. It's kind of like if you say something wrong on social media, and it's like your intentions are well, but you're saying the wrong thing, and it's like now everybody wants to cancel him, and it's just like, damn, well, nobody loves me, so yeah.
There's a lot you can read into it. Like you could even go into Endeavour and how terrible he's treated his family, but people, even though they probably know his name and who his family are, they're like, yeah, we'll let it slide. But Nick, what did you think on the chapter?
Wow. I think it's a great chapter. I don't know if there's much more I can say than what Marion and Benjamin just said. I think they definitely put everything really well here. The art is really good from start to finish, for certain. He went off on how well Shigaraki looks in that panel where Gran Torino is holding Shimura, to all of the Deku scenes. And even Endeavor about to go all out. Just that's about the only thing I can add. Otherwise, is the art is fantastic. He definitely did a really good job with that. Yeah, that's about all I've got.
Okay, cool. So that's the end of the episode. Thank you for joining, everyone. I think we'll do our round out. So my name's Sophie. You can find me on Twitter at Choppers Antlers. James, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at That One Welder Guy. I also have the Kicking Stones podcast. This is a Dr. Stone manga read-through podcast, as well as the Weeb Jammin' podcast, where we go over just monthly episodes of anime or anime movies. And you can find that at Weeb Jammin' on Twitter.
Cool. And a big thank you to all of our free guests for joining us. It's really fun having different people on, but also with each other. I feel like some great conversations have been had. So Benjamin, where can people find you?
You can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook by typing in Benjamin Banks. I should be the first one that pops up. If not, then I need to have a conversation with Mr. Zuckerberg. And you can follow my podcast, Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, at Leveling Up Banks on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Yeah.
Brilliant. Nick, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at nickarot, Nickarot. I'll mostly be talking shonen and video games, so if you're interested, give me a follow.
Cool. And last but definitely not least, Marion, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Microwavy, the E before the V, and I'm also co-host a bunch of other podcasts. I'm on the Good Friends Anime Club. That's at Good Friends Club or at Good Friends Cast on Twitter. It's just like an all-purpose like manga, anime, video games, light novels, etc. With me and 3 other friends. I'm also on View from the Top, a Haikyuu podcast with Kendra. That's at HaikyuuPod on Twitter. That was great. We covered like most of the manga from like the final arc and some of the stuff before that, along with like anime and news and stuff like that. If you like Haikyuu, it's worth it. And I'm also on the manga the manga episodes of the Demon Slayer podcast at D Slayer Podcast on Twitter. It's super fun. I have a Dorohedoro podcast at Dorohedoro on Twitter. And I also write reviews and like editorials for Toonami Faithful at toonamifaithful.com. And for Shonen Sunday type stuff, I write for the WSS talkback.blogspot.com blog for my friend Sakaki. And I have personal reviews on my own little blog. It's heavensdoorknob.wordpress.com. I have a lot of shit, but yeah, whatever you're into, I probably cover it.
You're a very busy man.
Very busy.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you all for joining us again. You can find the podcast at MHA Pod on Twitter, www.mhapod.com. If you could leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, that would be great. And you can email us at mhapod@gmail.com. I think there's some emails that we've missed this week. I apologise. We will cover them next week. Does anyone have a good idea for a round out? If you see any homeless children, make sure you stop and make sure they're okay. Go beyond.
Plus.
Ultra.
Ultra.